In this installment, we have an AFC North matchup in division between the Cincinnati Bengals going up against the Baltimore Ravens. Let's get into it. Hey, yo! Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Chef D, and I'm here to give you the winning ingredients for your Sunday night football matchup between the Cincinnati Bengals going up against the Baltimore Ravens. Very intriguing matchup. We got Joe Burrow going up against Lamar Jackson. But before I deep dive into that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MetsNetSD. Don't forget about the TikTok at Chef_D91. And don't forget about the Patreon if you want more DFS, betting, and fantasy football help. All those links will be provided down below. Now let's get to this showdown, and the key factor that we do before we finish or start breaking this thing down is going to be always the injury report. And there's some major outs in this particular game, mainly on the Baltimore Ravens side. So if we're looking at the injury report, we see right here, Rashad Bateman, their #1 wide receiver, is going to be out for this in-division matchup against the Bengals. That is a huge loss to the pass catching guys that they have in Baltimore, though. That's going straight to Mark Andrews. He gets a bump up. Devin Duvernay gets a bump up, and do not forget about Isaiah Likely as well. He becomes more of a factor in 2 tight end sets as well. So that's a huge loss. Rashad Bateman, that helps the Bengals defense, who's been playing pretty solidly all year long. Other guys that are going to be out in this game is Justice Hill, Justin Houston, outside linebacker. That's a hit to them defensively. Patrick McCarry looks fine. Marcus Peters is highly questionable. When you get a DNP on Friday, that is not good, especially if you had a limited and no practice the day before. So a do not practice, that's question mark. We'll see what happens. Later in the day on Sunday, we'll get more news on that. Ronnie Stanley, so far it says rest. So as you can see, at full practice, and then a rest day there on Friday. That's understandable. Ben Cleveland's going to be out, the guard. That's a huge loss. And then on the Bengals side, everyone is pretty much limited and questionable. Everyone looks fine on the Bengals side. We're just waiting on news on Devin Asiasi, who's like the 3rd tight end. T. Higgins is going to be fine, and Hayden Hurst is a highly questionable. So they might be without their starting tight end, the Cincinnati Bengals. So we're going to find out more news later in the afternoon, and then you guys can adjust. Right? So let's start with the captains for this game between Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens. And obviously, with the news that Rashad Bateman is out, this is more pressure on Lamar Jackson. All right, he had a poor performance against Buffalo. Now he's going to be against a team he is familiar with. If we're just looking at, let's look this up really quick. Let's look at Lamar Jackson DKP by game log. DKP means DraftKings points by game log versus the Bengals let's do last 5 games. Okay, let's get a ballpark of how Lamar Jackson's been doing. And we're looking at pretty solid performances. Early 2019, 33 fantasy points, 33 fantasy points again. 14.5 in 2020, 25 and 23. So Lamar Jackson is going to be fine. I love him in this environment here going up against the Bengals, because he's going to be more reliant probably on his legs. It's going to be a boost to fantasy production, and maybe we might get another 40-point fantasy game from him. He already has 2 this season already, so that's outstanding to see. It's going to be a struggle to see who he throws to, but I'm pretty sure he'll figure things out. Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, they have guys that can step up, but it is going to hurt them in the deep game. Okay. So Lamar Jackson is a love at the captain. Jamar Chase, this can be a game that he can definitely break out in. If we're looking at fantasy points allowed, okay, to wide receivers, the Baltimore Ravens are the absolute worst. Look at this. Baltimore Ravens, 32nd in the league and 25th in red zone rank. This is a dream matchup for all the wide receivers. That goes for Jamar Chase. That goes for T. Higgins. But this is mainly going to be more of Jamar Chase because T. Higgins has been playing fine. As you can see, Jamar Chase has been getting double teamed at a very high rate, and that's why he has only 10, 12, 13-point fantasy games in 3 straight games. This one's going to be a big one here, right? Take your overs on Jamar Chase. 10 plus receptions, 100 plus yards, multiple TDs. I want it all right? So Jamar Chase is a love at the captain spot. Let me move him over here so you guys can see. These are all going to be captain guys we're going to love. Next guy is going to be Joe Burrow. Not only is fantasy points allowed 32nd to wide receivers, it is also bottom of the league allowed to quarterbacks. And you got Joe Burrow here, 31st ranked fantasy points allowed to QBs. The Baltimore Ravens are absolutely horrible. They keep allowing double-digit leads to happen over and over against against Buffalo and against Miami. You can't do that. You can't do that, all right? Lamar Jackson obviously is struggling offensively in that second half, and you're putting your team in bad positions. Joe Burrow is in a dream matchup. This is going to be his breakout game here. I'm expecting 30 fantasy points from Joe Burrow. I love him as a captain, so I want to focus on Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase 100%. Definitely have Lamar Jackson in your lineups as well. So we got to find value here, but there is a lot of value opening up with some of the injuries that we see on the Baltimore side. So Mark Andrews, do not forget about him. He's someone that's going to get leaned on, but he's going to have a lot of attention. So with Rashad Bateman out now, they might just double team Mark Andrews and say, hey, Lamar Jackson, beat me anywhere else. And Prochet is going to have to step up. Devin Duvernay is going to have to step up. Isaiah Likely is going to have to step up. These are the guys that are not your top tier talents, going to be put in situations where they need to come through. So it might be a strategy from the Cincinnati Bengals to double team and bracket coverage Mark Andrews. That's going to be interesting to see. So I do still love Mark Andrews. Obviously he's already the number one option anyway, and now it's just more weight on his shoulders that he's going to need to come through in this particular environment. All right. Joe Mixon is someone we can consider. If we see this game, we see Bengals get up big. They might just run that clock out later in the second half. Joe Mixon could emerge as a fantasy factor here. Maybe he gets into the end zone. Maybe he busts a couple big runs because he's had poor efficiency all year long rushing the football. As you can see, weeks 1 through 4, we see 3 yards a carry, 2 yards a carry, 2.5 yards a carry. They have not got the running game clicking. Baltimore tends to have a strong run defense, and right now they are heavily poor in the secondary. So Joe Mixon is going to become a little bit of a flex. I don't have him as a love in the captain position. He's more of a flex guy for me in this particular matchup. And then the next guy we're going to look at will be T. Higgins. He has big upside as well. Big game against Miami, 7 for 124 and a touchdown. And in Dallas as well, he had a great game, 6 for 71 and a touchdown in that one. I can see an environment where he scores yet again. This, like I said, I showed you 32nd ranked Baltimore Ravens secondary. This is a dream matchup. So love T. Higgins here as well. And these are going to be the captains we're going to focus on mainly in our lineup builds. Love Lamar Jackson, love Jamar Chase, and I love Joe Burrow. Those are going to be my 3 main focuses on lineup builds for the captain position. All right. Let's move over to the flex. Right, next are going to be the flex options in this Sunday night football matchup that we got. We will start off with J.K. Dobbins. All right. For him to emerge, we're going to need more production in the receiving game. He's been very solid in limited work in week 3 and week 4. We're probably going to see a little uptick. He got 2 touchdowns in week 4 against Buffalo, so definitely paid off salary there. Despite the inefficiency rushing, he was averaging 3.2 yards a carry. They're going to probably lean on the running game a little bit more. So you're going to see more Lamar, more J.K. Dobbins. This is where you can get some production on the Baltimore Ravens side. besides just going towards the lesser wide receivers that they have on this offense, because losing Rashad Bateman is such a huge hit. So J.K. Dobbins becomes a flex pay in our lineup builds. I like him there. Tyler Boyd, if we want to fade Higgins and go for someone a little bit cheaper that has upside, then Tyler Boyd is your guy. He already has 2 breakout games in week 1 where he had double-digit fantasy points with 13.3 and a touchdown. And in week 3 against the Jets, had 105 yards, 1 TD, and 23 fantasy points in that one. Working in the slot, this guy is a very dynamic receiver. If he was any other offense, this man would be popping off each and every week. But now with Cincinnati, they just have a very deadly trio. Jamar Chase is the number 1 in this offense still, but Tyler Boyd will have breakout games here and there. So he should be in a nice percentage in your lineups as well. I like Tyler Boyd. If you want to save salary, just go away from Higgins. He's going to be highly owned. Tyler Boyd can be someone that can meet you with nice fantasy football production as well. So I like him as a flex play. Let's continue to go down. Let's skip these quarterbacks. And then here's the new wide receiver one for the Baltimore Ravens. It's Devin Duvernay, okay? He's been very creative, getting production in any way he can. If it's special team, if it's one big play, he did it in week 1 against the Jets with 2 touchdowns and 21 fantasy points. He came through, I think he had a kick return or a punt return for a touchdown in week 2. That's why he has 12.2 fantasy points in week 2. And then in week 3, he got a touchdown. And then in week 4, he was more of a reliable wide receiver, 4 for 51. He can be a flex guy for you. I'm not saying he's going to be a lock, but with no other option there, Devin Duvernay has been a reliable source for the first 4 weeks for Lamar Jackson. So that's going to be key. And he can definitely stretch the field, all right? He has speed that kills, all right? So Devin Duvernay is someone that we really like at 5,600. If we continue to go down, Hayden Hurst, we're going to wait on news for him if you want to go this way. If you want another pass catcher, a cheaper option for the Cincinnati Bengals. We only had 1 double-digit fantasy performance from Hayden Hurst so far this year, but he's been getting a decent amount of targets. 7 targets in week 2, 8 targets in week 1, got a touchdown in week 4. So there's been some up and downs, but if you want to say salary, if he's clear to play, you can go with Hayden Hurst at 4,600. He's not a love. All right, I'm definitely leaning more to Jamar, to Tyler Boyd, and Higgins, and those guys. Okay, as we continue to go down in this, I am staying away from Ravens defense. All right, for defense and kickers, no Ravens defense. All right, the Bengals should dismantle this team aerially. Okay, it should be an aerial assault for Joe Burrow and for those guys. Staying away from them. If I'm leaning on the defense, it's going to be the Bengals defense. I can see an environment where Lamar Jackson is forced into some throws that he's not comfortable with. It's like I said, with Rashad Bateman out, there's going to be some different formalities there on the field. Bengals have been playing solid defense as well. So they've had 4 interceptions in the last 2 games as well. So this Bengals defense is stepping up. I like them as a defense well over the Ravens. And if we're looking at kickers, Justin Tucker is going to be your guy here. And this is the 31st ranked matchup as well. We got 2 double-digit fantasy performances from him already. He's one of the greatest kickers ever. Justin Tucker is a very reliable source right there. And then we got Evan McPherson. I have no problem going to him as well. Obviously, if this team gets up big, move the ball in scenarios where they don't score a touchdown, they should move this ball very fluidly. And if they struggle on the 4th down, Evan McPherson is going to come through and knock in the field goal. So I like him. I like both kickers in this one. And if for defense, I'm going with the Bengals defense. Let's continue with the value plays below the kickers and defenses. Demarcus Robinson is the wide receiver 2 in this offense. We're going to stay away from James Prochet. So we got former Kansas City Chief right here. So he's someone that you can, this is a very big dart throw here. So if you focus in on your Cincinnati Bengals stacks and you need someone cheap enough down low, you need to throw a dart on. We got Robinson down here. He's someone to consider, but my favorite of them all will be Isaiah Likely. This is the guy that we want to play, all right? This can be a captain play at top, and then you have a big stack of Cincinnati Bengals that can really break the slate. Isaiah Likely is going to have, he should have a huge game in this one, okay? We saw a breakout in week 2 with 4 for 43. He's now the third option. Well, now he's now the second option with Rashad Bateman. Now it's going to be between Isaiah Likely and Devin Duvernay, okay? So we know this offense loves their tight end, so Isaiah Likely is a very sneaky play. He's a lock. All right, I'm telling you right now, Isaiah Likely should be in each and every one of your lineups, no doubt. All right, so I love him at his price. He's gonna have some usage, and anyone below him, we are not going to play. Okay, so let's clear out this, guys. Let me give you the definites in your lineups. Let me give you 4 guys. Okay, we're gonna give you Lamar Jackson. We're gonna give you Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow combo, and please make sure you play Isaiah Likely in the Sunday Night Football slate. I think this is the gem for tomorrow. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter, MessengerSD, and I'll be back with another video very soon. All right. Peace out, guys.